Here's a daily vitamin quick tip. Fruit and vegetable seeds contain more protein than a steak, so make sure you throw those seeds into your blender. Enjoy the video! Hello everyone, welcome back to the Daily Vitamin. Today we're doing a spelt blend off to see which one of these high-speed, high-powered blenders will win in terms of texture and consistency in grinding the finest spelt flour. Now what's really great about seeds like flax seeds or grains like wheatbery and rice is that they can be ground up into a really fine flour, which is free of preservatives when you make it yourself, and it's really fun to do in one of these blenders.
That's what's great about making it fresh at home. There's no additives, there's no preservatives. It's just completely fresh right out of your blender. It only takes, less than a minute to do. You simply just have to make sure your jar is completely dry when you have one of these high-powered blenders. You throw in your seeds, you could use wheat berries, flax seeds, flax seeds will turn into flax meal. Spelt and wheat berries make spelt flour, wheat flour, rice will turn into rice flour. And with this, you could do all your baking. So if you're gonna make cookies, if you're gonna do any, brownies, chocolate chip cookies, all kinds of good times, you could just...
All things I love.
Yeah, you could just use that for your baking. Flour is like one of the worst things you could buy off the store. Like the store-bought flours are filled with preservatives and additives because they have, they have to have a long shelf life, so they just, stack them up with that stuff, so they just stay on the shelf for a long time. But when you make it fresh at home, it's, there's no additives or preservatives. It lasts for, a few weeks. If you put it in a Ziploc bag in the fridge, it's much better when it's homemade flour.
Yeah, and I just really love making it. It's fun to see the process of it.
Let's find out which one can produce the finest consistency.
Let's get started.
First thing you want to check when grinding grains is to make sure the jar is completely dry. If there are any water spots, it could affect the texture. When you're grinding grains into flour, you'll want to crank the blender up to its highest speed to get a really nice fine texture. It usually takes anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute for the grains to become flour, depending on the blender that you are using. The longer you let the blender run, the softer and fluffier the texture of the flour will be. The flour that these blenders produce are completely fresh, gluten-free flour with no preservatives or additives, which you could use for all your baking. You could also combine different types of grains together and mix in your own custom recipes and make homemade custom flours. These blenders are all designed with their own techniques for grinding grains, but all have the capability to do so. Most blenders won't be able to handle the heavy load of grains. What will usually happen with a regular blender or one that doesn't have enough watts is that it will overheat and then you'll have to wait to use it again. Or you won't get the same quality consistency that you will with a high-powered blender. We recommend that your blender at least has 1200 watts to be able to handle grinding grains. Anything less than 1200 watts will most likely overheat or not do a thorough job. The Blentec and Vitamix, which you're watching, are high-tier blenders which cost a little more than the mid-tier Ninja and Nutribullet. Each blender does produce a slightly different texture, which you could read more about on the review. There is a link to the review below.
So what we found out was that all the blenders were able to grind the grains into a flour texture, but there was differences between the consistency. We found out that the G series had a finer consistency than the rest of the blenders. The G series had the fluffiest, softest consistency. It's very, very fine.
So fine. It's it's perfect.
Yeah, it's really good for baking. I mean, you could totally do baking with that. The next runner-up was the Blentec Designer Wild Side Jar. Very, very fine consistency.
Very fine.
Just everything got ground in the Designer and the G series. No problem. You could bake with both the flours that these produce. And
there are no granules in these whatsoever. It's just very soft, fluffy flour.
Yeah, so both these totally success. G series was a little nicer, so we're going to give that one the first place award for this blend off. And then the next one is the Nutribullet. The Nutribullet actually astounded us.
It really did.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Like it seemed to have the same kind of blade functionality as the Vitamix in terms of how it pushes the flour up the sides of the jar and then the flour falls on top of the blade in the center. So it finely mills everything. It's really a nice blend.
It's a similar design with how the blade, when it spins, it pushes the ingredients up the sides of the jar versus how the Blentec blender pulls the ingredients into the blade. So it's a couple different types of designs, but both work.
Yeah, and it's a close tie with the Designer
And the
flour
and the
over here.
Nutribullet. The Nutribullet's it was a close call between the Nutribullet and the Blentec. I mean, it's very, very similar texture. We gave Blentec second place because it's a little bit finer. The Nutribullet didn't have any pieces it left behind or anything. It's ground very well.
It's ground up pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
You could definitely bake with the flour that the Nutribullet produced. I mean, this is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, there is like, here's a little one here. Like, see
Yeah,
that?
but barely. I mean,
Barely. I mean, you just
Yeah.
let it run for a few seconds longer and you're going to have some solid flour there.
Yeah.
And not dirty.
And then the Ninja, unfortunately, did the poorest job. It did not, it's very gritty. It did not get all the seeds.
Yeah.
It's not that fine at all. I mean,
it's kind of like a cereal consistency.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's like a cereal,
Yeah.
basically. It's not like a flour. I don't know.
It's kind of like it reminds me of steel cut oats.
Yeah, I'm not a baking expert. I'm not a baking pro. I don't know if this is fine enough to bake with, so I'm not, I'm not sure.
You could bake with it, but it's just not as softly, it's not as softly milled as these others.
The consistency of these are very nice. All the Nutribullet, the G Series, and the Blentec Designer all produced a very fine consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed with the Nutribullet.
Yeah, I am too. But we're giving it third place in this blend off. First place winner goes to the Vitamix G Series with the low profile jar.
Yeah.
We love this jar. It's amazing.
So
It's
good.
very easy to use, very easy to clean. Big 4-inch blade. Big nice jar.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So to find out more information about these blenders, check out thedailyvitamin.com. If you want to get free shipping on Blentec or Vitamix purchases, use our free shipping links and we'll give you guys some bonus rewards. You can read more about bonus rewards as well as payment plan options at thedailyvitamin.com.
Yeah, and you can also find these blenders refurbished and save a little over $100.
Yep, yeah. Certain models with Blentec and Vitamix are offered as refurbished. Nutribullet and Ninja, I'm not sure if they're offered refurbished, but these are a little more affordable. These run $150 to $200 versus these run up, $400, $500, $600. So they're a little more pricey.
So that basically wraps things up for this spelt flour blend off. If you guys have any questions for us at all, please be sure to leave those below. And please be sure to leave your comments as well. And if you haven't followed us yet, please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And we'll see you guys in our next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.
We appreciate your comments and feedback. If you have any questions about this blend off, please leave it below. Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Submit your email at blendoffs.com for free promotions and free giveaways. You could win a high-powered blender.